All right.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to my Google Hangout. Tonight I have a guest, Richard Edrosolan, and he's going to talk to us about how he finds deals. Now, the last couple weeks, I've been talking to you about how to find deals and also how to fund deals. And I went over many different ways on how to find deals. So if you want to go back and look at my YouTube channel, you can look at the different ways that you can use to find deals. I probably listed about 10 of them when I first did that video. But tonight, as my guest, I have Richard here, and he's going to tell us how he finds deals in his market. What's his favorite way of finding deals? And drill down very specifically, he's going to help us figure out how he finds deals in his market. Now, I met Richard when he was doing some training in real estate, and he was part of a coaching program I was in. And he went on actually a tour where we went around and started looking at a lot of the REOs that were on the market at the time, because he was starting to make a shift in his business and he wanted to find out, what else was going on in different markets. So I'm going to pull up a little picture here and show you Richard on one of these tours, and that's kind of my introduction for you before I bring him on the air here. There's Richard on one of our, we had like a bus tour, and we went around and looked at different REOs, and there he is. So in the pink shirt. All right, well, let me put that down, because Richard probably thinks, why are you showing me that picture? Let me stop screen share. And if Richard, it looks like you're ready. Are you ready to answer a few questions here?
Sure,
so
absolutely.
Bring Richard up, and I'll have him give you a little background. Here we go. So welcome, Richard. You're on the screen now. So
Yay.
Richard, tell us where you're hanging out from. Where do you live?
I live in Ventura County, and I commute to the cities and the parts that I do investing. So I'm part-time at my house, and the rest of the time I'm out of state doing and looking for deals.
So you invest one place and live where you want, right?
Well, actually in 2009, what happened is I was a trustee buyer. So I was buying a lot of properties in Ventura County. When the market started rising, I thought to myself, I need to get more volume. So the thought that I had is, instead of spending $500,000 for a house, I decided that I would go to market that I could basically buy more houses at the $500,000. About that time, Phoenix just absolutely crashed and burned. At that point, that's when I decided to go over there. Prior to that, I have a partner in Inland Empire, and we were doing things there, but I just didn't feel I wanted to be there. I didn't think I could get enough property, so I went out of state. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And I did a lot of volume there.
Excellent, excellent. Well, give us a little background what you were doing before, like you were in a few other businesses related to real estate.
Well, before that, I was in the mortgage business. At the time, I was just buying and selling houses in the area. So basically, I've always been in real estate. I've had my real estate license, and I'd pick up properties here and there, but I really didn't pay too much attention. I just picked it here and there. And prior to that, I was in the insurance business, and I just got into it thinking it'd be great to have residual income, but I thought at that time it was very slow. And had I probably started when I was 20, it wouldn't be a problem, but I just got into the game, and what I wanted is I wanted more time, because prior to being in the insurance business, I had a mortgage company. I did exceptionally well, but I was working 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, and the stress was unbelievable because I was always, I just wanted more deals, more pipeline, and I'm an A personality, so when I do something, I go at it 100%, actually 100 plus. So I got into real estate. I started taking a lot of seminars. I did a lot of mentoring, went to the wrong people, and then I met Janice, and we talked, and from there I just started like everyone else, just went to the school of hard knocks, made mistakes, just kept on going. I'd fall down, get up, do it again. Fall down, get up, do it again. And the goal was to win the game.
Well, that's a great story, Richard. So tell us how you picked Phoenix, and then we'll find out how you find deals there.
Okay, what I do is the way I picked Phoenix at the time. At that time, you were able to buy condos for $8,000, $10,000, houses for $20,000, $25,000. So my thinking was, if I buy it for $25,000 and I'd wholesale it for $35,000, I just keep on rolling. So as I did that, I was able to take the monies I had. And at that time, when I went to Phoenix, Arizona, I became a trustee buyer. So I could buy, you take a couple $100,000, you can buy 8 houses at a whack. And then we were selling it at that time. Most people have, 30,000, 40,000. The market that I deal with specifically is Hispanic people. And at that time, they were they needed houses, and everyone had money underneath the pillow. So I just basically kept on buying and kept on selling. And that's how I wound up doing a tremendous amount of volume.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it sounds like you picked the right market and dove in.
It was just an idea. I think it's like anything else. You do the research, you go there, and then you turn over every stone and you look for deals.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how you find deals. So I just want you to maybe pick 3 or 4 of your favorite ways to find, or just dive right into your most favorite way to find a deal, and give us a few details on that.
I mean, the way we find deals is we use relationship. I mean, the first thing we do, or the first thing I do, is I will find a specific area. I'd figure out the price, and I typically stay under $200,000. I would go in that area, and then I would find the hot spots. We would go there, get about 500 bandit signs, and we would start there. From there, we'd start getting calls, and then while we're doing that, we would literally find all the wholesalers in the area. So we'd get to know them. Then from there, we would start calling hard money lenders, because a lot of times investors do properties and they fail, they misjudge the cost of repairs, and we ask them, hey, can we buy the property? That's another way. Then also, we implement a mail campaign, and then from there we keep on going over and over. We go to auction.com, we go to Hupsu. We just constantly hitting it. It's repetition, and we never know where we're going to get the deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us what percentage of deals you get from your bandit signs versus your mailings?
It really depends. How can I put it? When I go out doing a deal, typically we sort of start the activity in that area. So when we do the bandit signs, for us, the bandit signs are for us to get a buyer. That's really what we're after. So when we get a wholesale deal, we just flip it to them right away, and it tells us if there's a big market in that specific area. And that same strategy, I use it in 2 other states. So we go in, we do the bandit sign, we create the buyers list, and then we just start finding deals, and we just start wholesaling it to other people.
Okay, so first you're looking for your buyers, and that's what puts you in contact. So you have signs out saying we have a house, we're looking, to sell it, and that's how you find all your wholesalers.
Correct.
And your cash buyers.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Do you use handwritten signs, or do you have a certain?
Yeah, we find we handwrite the signs. We think our goal is we don't want to look like a company. We want to look like a regular guy that's trying to find a deal. We never come off as we own a company. We don't tell people, hi, I own this company. It's like, this is Richard, I want to buy your house, and I would go from there. Mm-hmm. So we just we would go, like what I use Montrose sign. So we'll buy a pallet of signs, cut them in half, handwrite it, put 500 in the car, and then try, and we would basically, in one day, put them all out. I have another friend that comes with me. He's driving. I jump out of the car, and we put them all four corners, and then we just go to another one and just keep on going.
So kind of walk us through what happens when you get a call from one of those signs. It's usually from a wholesaler?
No, when normally what happens is we'll get people, well, let's put it this way. What happens is that when we put the signs, we're also calling all the other bandit signs to see what they have. It's surprising, but most people that put bandit signs don't return your call. It's crazy. Why would you put your sign and not return the call? So what would happen is most of those people really, that tells me there's no competition. So what happens is once we build the list, as I'm building inventory, because while we're doing that, because the bandit signs only take 500, you can do in about 10 hours driving around. And we'll go to, like in one day we went from Riverside, Temecula, Canyon Lake, San Bernardino. I mean, we just blasted the whole area in one day. And what happens, we got a lot of calls. We even get agents. So when we talk to agents, what do you have? It's always, what do you have? And then from there, we establish the list. And then from there, we make a decision. And we always go, we always go for the low-hanging fruit. But what we've learned is that a lot of times you have to create your own deals. There's no house says, I'm a deal, buy me. It doesn't work that way. You have to figure out what is really happening with that person, and then you execute your plan, and more times than not, you win the game.
So let me, all right. So when you have a seller on the phone, or you go meet with them in person, what kinds of negotiation skills do you use to, figure out if this is going to become a deal for you?
The first thing I do is I find out if they're working with a realtor. So a lot of times, when I find out I already know they have a price in their head. So my goal is to get that out of them. Are they working with somebody? What's the value of the house? And that will kind of tell me where they're coming from. The next step I do is I always say, I'll offer you a price right on the spot based on not seeing the house. And I said, but I'll tell you, it'll be very aggressive. So that says, oh, well, I want to get the most. So that's, for me, they'll invite me to come and look at the house to give them an evaluation. While I'm there, I find out how much money they have. Then what would happen, and a lot of times most people don't have $40,000 to rehab their house. And how are you going to rehab your house when you live in your own house? So I sort of get more into their personal life, and it's just through questions. I ask questions, yes and no questions. Out of that, as I'm going through those questions, I'm walking in the house, and I'm not really pointing out, oh, your kitchen's horrible, your floor is. I just look at a pause, look down, and they know what I'm looking at. In the back of their minds, I'm taking their expectations down. So when I make them the offer, I always say to them, what do you think it's going to cost? I never go and say, well, I know it's going to cost you $30,000. What happens, they tell me what they think, and more times than not, it's more than what I would pay. And then from there, I would work the price down, add my profit, and then I would go from there and start negotiating at that point. But what I always do is when I go in a house, I have a pad and I'm writing all those things, and I walk out of the house. I said, well, let me get back to you. Let me do the calculations. I would just go out there just for time. And then I would come in, and then we would talk. And more times than not, I would always ask them, what's the least you're going to take? So when you first go there, you're talking, what's the least you're going to take? They'll tell you one number. Then you walking and you ask them again, what's the least you take? And each time they'll keep on coming down. And at the very end, then you present the offer. And then when you present the offer, what I do is I never talk about price. I talk the difference between what they want and what I want, I concentrate on that difference. I never say, you want 300,000, I'll only give you 250. I will only look at the 50,000. I said, we're only talking 50,000, and you kind of break it down, and usually you can get them down. And it's easier because you develop a rapport. People will sell you their house if they like you. If they don't like you, they're going to say, I only want this, and take it or leave it. I never take that approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you really focus on the difference between the two numbers, and that seems like a smaller amount to deal with.
For them, yes, yes. And I never give them an ultimatum. What I do, because I know, for instance, let me think. Like, let's say it's a probate issue. A lot of the deals that I've done in the probate, a lot of times it's a relative that lives in the house. They're not paying rent. They need the money. So if you talk price, you're not going to win. You got to find out what's happening in their life, because you're really there to help them out. And that's really the bottom line. And each state has a different strategy. But what I'm telling you works in California. In Texas, where I do business, it's a whole different strategy. So it's all about people. It's not about the price, it's people. People will do things for you if they like you. If they don't like you, they have to justify what they do. And it's easy to say, well, I like him, he's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. You usually can make the deal work. And I really never go there, the idea to just steal the property for somebody, because that's not really what it's all about. You know, I want everyone to be happy, and once you get to the truth, they're more flexible. It just makes it so much easier, and you feel good about it, because you know, to take a property and steal it from somebody else, that doesn't feel good for anybody. You know, like, haha, I stole the property and I got it at a great deal. So you'd be surprised. A lot of people just say, please get this house off me, especially if it's a landlord. Please get me away from this crazy renter that I have. And that's how we find a lot of deals. It's either in probate, it's a relative that's in there, or a squatter. And you have that with people that own a lot of properties. So I'm there to relieve them of their pain. Because a lot of times it's not about money. You know, maybe in their life, their wife got diagnosed with cancer. Maybe they just got fired. Holidays, maybe they've got to go to assisted living. They have a mother that is in trouble. There's so many things, and those are the things that are going to get you the lower price, because what monies they have, you know, when you go and rehab a house, it takes time. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't have the right contractors. You might be behind in taxes. You might you have bills to be paid. So once you get to that route, you will win all the time. Win in the respect that then it's more flexible, then it's not a hardcore, and now you can work the deal out. And sometimes on those kind of deals, you know, what I've done is, you give me this, if I sell it and make more, I'll give you extra money on the back end. And so a lot of times that gives me flexibility. So what that means, so the nice thing about that is you don't have to come up with as much money. And that's some of the things that I do. And sometimes some of those people, let's say I find out they have 4 pieces of property, and I find out they have problems, and I find out where they are in life. I would say, well, look, I'll buy this, but I also want to buy this. And then I give them a one price catches all, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm always looking for properties. My conversation is all about them, but I'm always looking for a way to get another piece of property under contract to either wholesale or rehab.
So if you find their pain point, you often find that they have several properties and they need to get rid of some more of those. I mean, you did touch on the kinds of pain and issues that homeowners have. Maybe you can give us a couple of examples of pain issues that a landlord would have when you run into them.
A landlord, okay. You know, I have rental properties, and like this month, I had about 5 vacancies, 1 break-in, and missing 5 vacancies. and an eviction. Now, that's a lot that's
Mm-hmm.
going on. So a lot of times you have that, and then you have life. And sometimes people say, I'm done. But a lot of people don't realize, being a landlord is not for everybody. It's a job because you're dealing with people, people's personality, people's credit, people's life. It's really a job. So for us, well, for me, I sometimes I have to think, what am I doing? But I realize it's only temporary. So most of the people usually do not have a crummy property manager. They're out of money to fix a house. I mean, I have friends that have properties. They have air conditioning problems. They put in 4,000. Oh, I have a situation right now where a friend of mine, an investor, I probably will buy his house. It's a fourplex. He had to put AC in. It cost him $5,000. The problem, old building, the panel box is too old. It's going to cost him $4,000 to put 200 amp on all 4 units before the power company will run more power to be able to run the units.
I see.
So now it's an $8,000 deal when before it was 4. So now it's like, okay, where do I get the money? A lot of times credit cards are tapped out. The pain is too much, and they have to have a property manager. So those are the kind of things that really happen to people. Sickness, just everything.
So in some ways, the landlords have the landlord issues, and then they have the life issues that regular homeowners have coming together at once.
Correct. I mean, a lot of people don't realize when you, unless it's free and clear, you're only making 8 to 13% on your money. More times than not, 8%. So figure it out. And the thing is, a lot of people have properties, have day jobs, 8 to 5, 9 to 5. They have a job, they come home, they have their family. Then all of a sudden they have problems with an investment property in Detroit, Texas, Utah. You got to deal with those time changes. You're at work at 2 o'clock. It's 3 hours later in New York. So you got all these things happening, and that's why a lot of people, I'm able to get a lot of properties from people that are landlords. Most of my stuff is coming from landlords that are really unhappy. And the thing is, you have to really find out what's happening in their life, so they'll say, please take it away from me, take the pain away.
That's a good answer. Thank you, Richard. Can you tell us, if someone was going to start out, maybe 3 steps they could take to kind of find their first property? I mean, you could even give an example of that one that we worked on when I was out visiting Phoenix, something like that, just so they'd know like where to start.
Well, normally what happens is that I talk to everybody. We will use social media. We'll sort of advertise. We're looking for properties. And all we want is a chance to talk to somebody. So you might talk to this person as well. I have a house that just burnt down. We went to the adjuster, and the adjuster put us in contact with the owner, and the owner says, I want to sell. And because he wanted another situation to go into, he says, I don't want to rebuild a house. The insurance is going to pay me. He got his money. I was able to get a price, and the reason it worked out well, because I was willing to wait. I mean, what normally happens with a lot of people, if you don't have a lot of deals you're working on, you can live and die in each deal, and you won't get any traction. You won't be able to create a nice income for yourself. So you always got to have a pipeline of houses. That's why when someone will say, well, what do you do? I do everything, whatever, and everything involves talking to people. That's really about it. You go to RIA clubs, you meet people. Like I know Janice, I'll say, Janice, what are you doing? And she'll tell me an opportunity she's doing. And then from there, I start looking at the area, see if it's a feasible situation. It's all about relationships with people. It's because it's a people business. Like I just did a deal in Texas, and what we did is we flew in. We figured out the area, we figured out the price points, we went to the RIA club, and I just told everyone, hey, I'm looking for property. And people said, well, I got this. And from there, I went out and looked at the properties, looked at the price points, and then I found someone in that group that was a wholesaler, and he happened to have a bunch of houses, and I started negotiating. And what happens in buying properties, you can't be wishy-washy. You're either going to play the real estate game and do it, or you're going to go, well, maybe it doesn't work that way. One of the reasons that we're able to get properties really fast is we're able to pull the trigger at the same time. So what happens, you're looking for money, properties, and rehabbers, and if you can't take it, give it to that person. They're everywhere, especially now. There are investors all over the place with money looking for deals. And you've got to find the ones that can act, that are really doing it, that are not afraid, especially if you go out of state. So that's what we do now. We also do the bandit signs. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the bandit signs, social network, the wholesalers, and the rear clubs, and it works. We continue. That's what we do. We can walk. We can go in any state, and we do the same thing. It doesn't matter. People, because the object of the game is we want to talk to people, and the people are going to give us the deals. And our track record speaks for itself. And really, a track record, all it is experience. It's all about getting over that fear factor. And I've been able to get over that because I've done so many houses. But back before, like you say, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. If you do your research beforehand, just do it. Because until you close the deal, you can always back out. But if you're dealing with wholesalers and you understand the cost of construction, because each area is the same. The only thing that changes from state to state is labor. That's it. It's labor. A door is a door. A sink is a sink. It's all the same. There's Home Depots all over the United States. Only thing it changes is labor. I might give you a good example. In California, when I was doing, I could hire people for about $80 a day, went up to $100. You go to Texas, you're at $150 a day, period. Because why? They can work in the oil fields. They can make more money in the oil fields. I go to Phoenix. I can get them for about $100 still. Why? No jobs. It's an issue over there. So every state is a little different.
So that affects how much money you're gonna estimate the rehab is really your labor is the only variable cost to that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. And I learned that when I went from Phoenix to Texas and from California. I thought California, you know, I figured I had it all figured out. I went to Arizona, had it all figured out. I went to Texas. I really messed up. I thought to myself, what am I going to do? So I wound up bringing my guys from Arizona to Texas to work. But I started figuring out the numbers. It didn't make sense. So what I had to do is get tighter with everything, really be accurate with the material cost to offset the labor. So it's kind of like, it depends on where you're doing the deals. And you really have to know the area, and you got to buy close and tight. And here's the thing, I never sit down and try to figure out, well, I'm going to try to do a home run as far as making profit on a deal. I kind of go within the guidelines where it's acceptable. But remember, when you make low profit, you have to do a lot more deals to make a living. You're not going to, if you do one house every quarter and you make 20,000, let's just use that as good as 50, whatever. But let's say 20,000. Remember, the bills keep on coming in, and you've got to keep. It's like a leapfrog. That's kind of how we built our business. We bought one. We're thankful we got that. Then when we bought that, we sort of staged it, and then we staged the third one, and then eventually we got to the point where they were just rolling over. So every month we were getting cash flow, because that's the only way that's worked for us. Some of it might be differently, but that's what we had to do.
So when you go into a new area, are you putting out a lot of signs that say, you know, we buy houses, or are you putting out, you know, something like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, something you're trying to sell? Which approach do you start with?
We just put out, we buy. We buy houses, period. From there, that's what we do. And then from there, we wind up, a lot of people, I know they do those bandit sign, 3-2, so they get calls. We haven't had to do that because we buy, that works from there because we're doing other things. What happens is that most people do one thing and just wait, but we're doing other things at the same time. While we're doing that, like if Alex is with me, he's on the phone talking to all the wholesalers. He's on social network, and I'm doing this and vice versa. I'm calling realtors, he's calling social, and we're putting signs at the same time. So we're multitasking at the same time. And when we do it, we don't, I hate to say this, we start in the morning and we just keep moving. And we eat in the car and we just, because the quicker the banner signs are done, then we move on to the next task.
Mm-hmm. I think you might have, just answered one of the questions I had, but maybe we'll repeat it for the audience here. And that is, what specific roadblocks do you think that stops investors from getting started?
I think I always hear people say, because I was talking to someone earlier today, and they were saying, I just don't know how to make this thing happen. Like, they were asking me how to wholesale out of state. And I told them, well, talk to a wholesaler and see what their rules are to lock up the property. That'll tell you what you have to do. If they say, okay, put $5,000 deposit down on this property and I want it by Friday, 5 o'clock the afternoon, and you have someone who wants to buy it, the person you're buying is going to tell you what you have to do. You just do it. A lot of people confuse it. A lot of people are too much in their head. It's kind of like make a plan and follow it. And if you make a mistake, who cares? Look around you. There's so many houses, so many houses. And when you think you're, this week I was with someone that does a lot of business in California, a lot. And we were talking about investors, and I did this thing the other day. I was like struggling with some things that I'm doing with some bigger projects that I'm doing, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? And I was going through this whole thing. One house is one thing, but when you get into big deals, then it's a whole different thing. And I had a mind block, and what I realized, what I had to do is, my friend said, go to the cemetery and stand there. And I did that the next day. Mm-hmm. I said, now here's the big question. What can they do that's in the ground, and what can you do? That was it. Guys in the ground, there's nothing they can do. It's done. So theoretically, that's what I had to do, because you have a choice. And you just go do it. You're going to make mistakes, but here's the thing. When you fall down, get up and do it again. It's kind of like if you had a child, you're training them on a bike, they fall down. What do you say? Come on, get up, honey. I have a daughter, and I said, come on, honey, get back up. Get up. They fall, get back up. And eventually they're just riding the bike. Like, Janice can relate. She has kids, and it's like, you fall down, get up. Because if you don't get up, you just lost.
Right.
Period.
And it's like any of these things, it's relationship based. So when you talk about wholesaling out of state, they have to find someone who wants to buy a house and someone who has one, and put the relationship together. Same thing. I was thinking about what you said about the bikes. Is no one rides a bike the first time they did it. I mean, if you didn't fall down, you'd never learn how to do it at all. So you really do have to just keep doing it. You do make some mistakes, and eventually, if you do as many as you did, you start to pull it all together.
Yeah, and the thing about that, Janice, a lot of people, the more business you do, you have to always be careful, because you could go past the mark and go broke. So you always have to be aware. I think the reason a lot of people fail as they go along is they realize nothing lasts forever. It's kind of like everyone thought the REOs would be there forever. Guess what? They're gone. The hedge funds, they're gone. Short sales, they're gone. So what does that mean? You have to continually educate yourself, and you have to know everything comes to an end. It's kind of like you learn to swim, right? And you decide, well, you know what? I think I'll swim to Catalina. Well, guess what? You'll get so far, and you're gonna drown. So you have to be very careful what you do, because excessive buying continually, market crashes, you go down with it. So you have to take care of your needs first, take care of your household and your bills and so on and so forth. Don't worry about the wants. That's down the road. Just take care of your needs. As the money grows, build your portfolio for rentals. And that's kind of what, I've done, Janice has done, because in the game of flipping and what we do, typically a flipper or rehabber, it's a job. If you stop, you're out of business. So you really, in order to get true wealth, you have to get the properties. Owning the properties and making $100 a month, that ain't going to get it. Because when you have properties, it is a cash drain, because plumbing, AC, things break down. So take care of needs, then start building your portfolio. That way you can retire. I mean, that's the game. I mean, that's the end game for the rehabbers. Other than that, you're going to be you're going to have a job the rest of your life, and that's not really what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm going to ask you another question. You just mentioned that the things change in the market. Nothing lasts forever. So tell us a little bit. I know you did a lot of work at the auctions. So tell us a little bit about kind of what that felt like when you knew you could buy all these houses at auction, and then you kind of felt like the faucet was turning off. Tell us a little bit about how you felt, and then how did you transition into finding deals in different ways?
When we were at the auction buying, what we did is we developed a buyer's list. So what happens is the wholesalers that were buying, all of a sudden, they couldn't sell it. So we started buying their property. So a lot of them would say, give us X amount of dollars, and we just charge $2,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 a deal. While we were doing that, but let me back up a little bit. We knew it was slowing down. So what we did is we went heavy into the marketing, into short sales. So at that time, I remember I got what I would do every day. Once we knew the area so well that you tell us the street, we know what that house is going to sell. So for us, we were at the auctions all the time buying. I was bidding. Then I had a bidder go there and bid for us, and everything was handled on the phone. So at that time, I knew that was coming to an end. Short sales were really big. So what we did is what I did every day is I would pull up every single listing every day, and I would literally just make an offer. I had an agent, and I put out 5,000 offers. And the reason I know that, because I bought a ream of a box of papers. And what I did, there was a guy that taught all the people, or basically taught them how to do get their licenses. So what I did is I went to him and I said, look, I want to make a lot of offers. And he passed away since then. But what happened is he was known to all the realtors in the area. And what I did is I knew if an offers came from him, because he trained them, they would look it more favorably than other people. Mm-hmm. So every day we'd put maybe 20, 30 offers a day, non-stop. Mm-hmm. And out of that, I built this huge pipeline. So it just kept on coming. So what happens, a lot of these other people would be at the auction, a lot of them started going out of business, and all of a sudden, then from there, because remember, I could take, at that time, I could look at the MLS, and in probably 20 minutes, I could write up all the offers I had, and I would fax it to the agent. I would let them sign everything. Every month, I would give them a a financial statement. I have X amount of money, and I had hard money lenders, and I would say, give me a thing saying I got $1 million. And and the hard money people are the people I do business with. I had that, and I had a bank statement, and it didn't matter because I knew the short sales would not happen until 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months down the road. I have one right now. It's a crazy thing. It's a probate deal. It's been a year and a half, and they keep on saying to me, do you want to back out? No, I don't care, because it's a pipeline. That's something that when I was in the insurance business, something when I was in the loan business, for me, it's all about pipeline. When you build a big pipeline, you don't care. But if you only have one deal, you're going to live and die in that one deal. And I've learned you've got to have deal after deal. So when you have something on a contract, don't stop. Keep on going forward. And eventually, the pipeline gets long, and that way you're not a fatality in the trustee sales. And that's kind of what I've done. So we're always looking. I've learned to look into the future. So now, for instance, in the next, I don't really see anything big happening right now with the real estate until the next election. So everything's going to sort of, you're going to have some areas like Beverly Hills spike up, Santa Monica, but everybody wants to live by the ocean from around the world. For us, for me, that's not the norm. I kind of go for the guy that works, and everything is about economy. And I'm always looking into the future. You have to, because it's a changing market. Interest rates go down, war, whatever. All those things, people react. The masses goes, oh my God, we're not going to buy. I'm going to lose my job. Blah 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 blah. That affects how quickly you can sell the house. So when that happens in one area, we just shift into another area. So we're constantly ahead of the curve. You have to be. If not, you're going to be fatality. I mean, like right now, you have a lot of people leaving California, going to different states and trying to make deals happen. I can tell you, in Houston, Alex and I went there, and most of the deals that we saw were investors that would go there, start rehabbing, and they run out of money, and they're out of state. So a lot of times the lender has to take the money, has to take the house back. So you got a house that's half done, and you're able to buy it really cheap. And that's kind of what we've done. We kind of looked at the situation and then decided, it's an opportunity. So we look at the worse the areas, the happier we are, because that's where the money's made. And the problem is, a lot of people get afraid of, what if this? Well, when you get a deal, there are people out there that will help you out. You just got to ask. And if you don't get the answer from one guy, just keep on going. And that's really been the thing that's worked for me. And I'm sure it's worked that way for Janice, because Janice and I, we've talked and we've worked on deals together. I've seen her. She's mentored me, and that's another thing that I strongly recommend, that, when you find someone that's really good, see if they'll mentor you. It's one of those things. I got mentored by a lot of people. It cost me a lot of money. They didn't do anything for me, but I was fortunate to meet Janice, and she helped me out tremendously. And even now, there's a very few people that I can talk to. One thing I love about Janice is that she's literally doing it. She's doing it. She lives in San Diego area, and she's doing stuff in different states. How does a person do that and not have to be there? Well, evidently she's got something right. So what I do is I find the people that are really doing deals, and those are the people you got to, because those are the people that are going to help you, because they're dealing with the same problems that you'd be dealing with, not textbook. So that's one of the things that, and I think it's really great that what Janice is doing is a service to helping people. I mean, look at it. She's doing this. She's educating people. Some people, I have this property. What do I do? And Janice said, well, maybe I'll buy it. And then they do a JV deal, and everyone makes money. Everyone's happy. So this is the service that she's doing, which is great. It's out of the love for people. And you got to love people, because that is your business. It's not real estate that's going to make you money. It's the people around you. They're going to help you. And out of that, you help them. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So there you go.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for the compliment. That was great. Can you tell us a little bit about in people in terms of building a team and finding people that kind of complement, what the things you have versus the things they have, and how you form a team and you work together?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I do, how can I put it? I'm just trying to think of what. Well, what I do is when I go, what I figured out for myself, the more people that's in the game, it's a good thing, because what's going to happen is you form relationships with these people. Again, it's a people business. Mm-hmm. If a person's flipping and he's using the same contractor, chances are they're a pretty good contractor. I'll give you a good situation. I was in Texas. Alex and I were in Texas, and I went and met Montalongo, not Armando. I met the other guy, the nice guy, David. He's a great guy. And what happened is I started talking to him, and he and I were working on a big project together, and I got to know his people. Well, I know because he's a good guy, he's doing a lot of deals. Then I met another guy that was the head of the RIA club, and I asked him, who does he use? And I met some other wholesalers, and they told me who they use, and they were all using the same guy. So again, you use RIA clubs, they'll refer you because they will tell you who's the bad guy out there. There's a lot of people that are not good. Trust me, I've had my share of them. But you have to find the guy that's real, the guy that really cares. Go look at his project. If the house is crappy, why would you want to use their job or use the people around them? It just, you don't. I mean, it's kind of like we do stuff in Inland Empire, and we've had contractors that have taken us for money. I mean, we've lost $20,000. We'd give them, and the guy would leave. So we would have to scramble around. And the good thing, what's really been good, is a lot of people, when you hire somebody as a subcontract, it's good to hang around a couple of your jobs so you understand what's happening. When the inspector comes, you want to be there because they're going to educate you. Because a lot of times you really, I mean, I hate to say this, but you really can't trust your contractor until you really do a couple of deals, you don't really know what they're like. Mm-hmm. But when you're there with the inspector, he's going to educate you. One of the ways that I always do, whenever I am going to rehab in an area that I don't know, I go to all the houses, all the rehabbers' houses in that area, so I know what people are doing. I see their quality. And I will pick up the phone. I'll say, who do you use for this? Oh, I use this guy, but don't use him because he did this to me. So again, it's about people. And by and large, most successful rehabbers, they don't feel you as a threat. They don't, because it's taken them years to get to where they're doing tremendous amount of volume, and they have 4 or 5 contractors. And I know nobody has somebody 100% of the time, because it's a flow. Some months you have more, some months you have less, and they try and squeeze you in. And we'll do this for you, so you almost have to talk to people and just get referrals. It's about referrals. It's kind of like if you had some horrible sickness, you're going to start Googling. You're going to start talking to people. It's the same thing. You just got to talk to people. And a lot of people think, there's a magic to real estate. There is no magic. People are people. There are scammers in real estate. There are scammers as agents. They're all over the place. If you ask the right questions, you're going to get the right answers. But keep your eyes open and go from there.
Let's see. I think I have one more question, which would be, and then we'll wrap it up. Which would be, for our listeners, what would you suggest as sort of a first step that someone could take to go into a new market and get started? I mean, you touched on a lot of ideas, so it'd be kind of, maybe it's 3 steps, but what's the first, second, and third thing they could do to get started in a new market, and maybe the market like where they live, like you decided not to flip houses in Ventura County because they were $500,000. How can they go into a new market and get started? I mean, I live in San Diego, and I flipped some in San Diego in 2011 when it was at the peak, but now I'm working in other cities. So how would you do that?
Okay. I was in San Antonio 5 months ago, and there was a guy that I met, and he does a lot of business. And I asked him, it was the craziest thing. The guy was always happy, and he get a lot of deals. I feel like, what do you do? Is just come with me. And what he had in his office, he had a stack. You know how people get the mail and they have all these envelopes? Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to show you how you can make money from nothing. I said, okay, cool. I want to see how you do it. So what he would do is, and we drove around for a couple of weeks together. And I'll tell you what came out of that. But what happened was, so we would drive around, and he would take one of those envelopes that you get in the mail. Instead of throwing away, we just stack them up. And then what would happen, we would drive around. We would literally drive in and out of streets. So that, and we would take the address. And then we'd come back to the house, and we would just scratch. Literally what we did is we took a piece of paper, and dear blank, we would like to buy a house, and we typed it, and we copied it. And all we did is we see who want to put their name, we buy a house, and we just sent it off. It was that simple. We didn't use yellow letters. We didn't do all this crazy stuff. And it all works. But it so happened, that's what we did. So the goal was, I wanted to see if you could do the deal, start with no money, nothing. So what happened, you can get you go to these seminars, they give you free pens. So you get the pen, you save all the envelopes that you get from all this junk mail.
From your bills, right? It's a return envelope from a bill, right? Okay.
So then we drove around, and what we did is we would just drive in and out. And what we did is we looked at houses that looked like they were vacant, abused, or neglected. And we wrote down addresses. And you could drive down the street, and you look for newspaper on the patio, you look for blind. I mean, you look for all the signs of wear and tear. And then what you do is you just fill it and send it to them. Well, what happened out of that, it happened to go to a trustee attorney. Out of that deal, out of doing that, we picked up a house that the trustee called us. We put an offer. So the relationship began because we created a relationship with the guy. We got the deal. Then the next question, what else do you have? Well, I have 17 lots that the person died and has it, but you wouldn't be interested in the lots. Well, guess what? Yes, we were, because we took the 17 lots and we drove each one of them, and we figured out which we could make money and which we couldn't, and all these different strategies. We got all 17 lots. So what we did is, like I said, from envelopes from the bill, pen, no yellow letter, nothing crazy like that. We look for houses that had problems, because usually they're dead, landlord doesn't care, landlord ran out of money, it was given to an in-law. You name it, it's a problem. Because when you see a problem, if you can solve that problem, you will get an opportunity. And that's all you're looking for, just a chance. There's no guarantee you're going to get a house, but it's opportunity is what you're looking for. And that doesn't say, I'm a deal. You just got to know there's an opportunity to create the deal. And that's what I would do, starting out from square one, if you had no money. From there, when you make a little bit of money, then what you do, you start investing in the bandit signs. You can call wholesalers, because now you can say, this is what I have. this is what I did, and then you get the confidence, and you start from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do something, and that is about driving for dollars. That's really about it. Because what happens is the people that let's say you find an area, you put out 3,000 mailers a month, hypothetically. Well, here's the deal. You put it out, you come home and you just sit there and wait for the phone to ring. That's not real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out and create something. And your best deals are going to be the way I just told you. You will make more money faster, quicker. It's going to cost you less.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's target marketing. How many people are going to knock on doors? Not a lot. Especially if it's a woman. It ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't want to knock on doors, walk. They don't want to do that. But you drive around, and how many people, I mean, some people don't find that exciting. I do, because you get to see opportunities. It's unbelievable. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to think out of the box. Mm-hmm. Anyone can spend $10,000 selling product. You do that when you do deals. Whenever you do a deal, always take money aside for marketing. Always keep that going. Because once the phone stops, you're out of business. Bottom line, you got to get that phone to ring. That opportunity is there, and it's there. And you don't know when it's going to happen, but if you do it persistently, it won't cost you a lot of money to direct market. You photocopy a letter, sign it, because when someone is in trouble, it might be from their perspective, oh my God, God gave me somebody that wants to buy my house. It's all about timing. It's all about energy. It's all about doing something. You do something, something happens. Do nothing, nothing happens. So you have to look at the possibilities of how can I win in this game. And those are the things that we do. And we're constantly figuring out other ways. It just doesn't stop there. It just depends on how big of the game you want to play. But when you talk to somebody, they're like you and I. They're everyday people. They have bills. You have bills. There's always a common ground. They said my mother. Like my mother's in her 90s. She has dementia. Use your own life, and believe it or not, you're gonna be surprised how many other people have the same issues. And it becomes a sharing. They become friends. Maybe they don't sell there, but maybe down the road they'll call you and say, hey, you remember me? I want to sell my house now. It's an invitation. Please take this off my hands. Rather than go like, well, I can give you this. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, sometimes you might get it, but when it's all said and done, it's relationships all day long. And Janice knows that. I mean, I'm here talking to Janice out of relationship. I mean, I would do anything for her. She's a sweetheart. And that's what it's all about. It's friends first. That's why. I mean, that's what works for me.
Thanks, Richard. It sounds like you've built a very big business based on relationships, and I'd say, that's kind of your word for tonight is have a relationship, build the relationships by starting out with your marketing. And I love the driving for dollars because you're very targeted. When you find out who owns the property, you go back home, you send out the letter, and that way you know that every letter you're sending out is to a house that's distressed. When you send them just to absentee landlords, you haven't looked at each house yet, so you don't really know. This way it's very targeted, so it's and you're hitting homeowners and absentee owners at the same time.
Correct. Correct. I mean, you just want to be able to talk to that person, and you really want to care. Why is it in distress? What is it that you're not telling me? And you really have to ask and have a two-way dialogue, and just pretend like it's a friend, like what's going on? Oh my gosh, and then from there says, yeah, I just want to get rid of this. I can't stand it. It's like if somebody gave me X amount, I'll do it. It's like, oh my gosh, well, let me ask you a question. Would you carry paper? Because sometimes, it's always sometimes someone might want that. Oh yeah, I'll do that. Then says, well, you know what? Maybe I can help you. And then from there, you kind of work your way into it, and then you have an opportunity, and that's how it works.
Right, because if someone's short on money and you offer for them to owner finance, then they're going to make some money off the house at the same time that you're helping them out. Perfect.
One of the things, Janice, as you well know, there are people out there, just please get this away from me. You know, sometimes they'll say, you know, you work out a deal that's, you know, I mean, like I have a deal that I did, and what happened was the wife, well, actually the husband got cancer, and the wife was property managing the property. And what happened is she says, I can't, the medical bills are killing me. And I said to them, really, like, what's happening? Well, the medical bills are killing me. I'm taking my husband for treatment, and the renters are just killing me. They pay on time, not on time, and it's ruining my credit. And out of that, I just said, well, you know what? How about if I buy the house, and I tell you what I'll do? I'll give you X amount of dollars, and I'll take the payments over. They said, fine. It cost me $5,000. I took over the payments. I went to escrow. It was all taken care of. She's happy. We still talk as to what's happening in life because she's a friend now. And that's kind of how it sort of works. You have people first. I mean, it's a people business. You know, it's not a real estate business. It's a people business. And that's what makes things happen. Someone likes you, they help you out. That's the way we sit. And you know that works, Janice, because that's kind of how you are. I mean, look what you're doing now. You're helping people kind of create something for themselves in life.
Absolutely. Thank you, Richard. I had to mute because the other phone was ringing in the office at the time.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's wrap it up. I think your comment about, you know, it's a relationship business is definitely true. And I think all of our listeners, you know, have some great tips on how to go get started in your market if you haven't gotten started already. And look at Richard with all his experience. He went out and did the free thing with writing on the paper and driving for dollars. You know, you can do that, you know, when you're on your way to work, drive a different street each time and see if you find a property. Anyway, I'm going to bring up, let's see, I'm going to bring up a little call to action here. If you want to follow some of my tips and tricks and also announcements about these hangouts, you can find me on Twitter, and at Twitter you find I'm called the Pink Professor. And one more thing, sorry about the phone in the background there. So this is our call to action for Wise Wealth University, and you can go there and sign up for the Hangouts. You will get an automatic email telling you when the next Hangout is. So you can go to wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. All right, sorry about that. All right, so the other thing that you might want to try to do if you're getting started is also go to wisewealthuniversity.com/PV lending, and I have an ebook on private lending. So we will be talking. I did talk about funding your deals last time, and our next topic for the week after Thanksgiving, that topic's going to be how to fix your deals, because I'm in the series now where I'm doing the 4 F's of real estate. So find, fund, which are the last 2 weeks, and then we've had our guest speaker on finding deals, which was Richard, and the next topic's going to be how to fix the property. So I'm going to do an overview of that and then have a few guest speakers come in also and talk about how they rehab their properties. So that's the next topic coming up in December. Next week's Thanksgiving, so we won't be here. You enjoy your turkey day. And I just want to thank Richard very much for coming on tonight. And Richard, do you have a final word that you'd like to add?
Go do deals. Make your dream come true. Do deals.
Do deals. Just get out there and do it, right?
Do deals.
Don't give up. Don't stop.
Never stop.
Never stop. All right. Well, thank you, Richard. We really enjoyed you sharing, and I want to thank you for all the time you spent on the call sharing with our students.
Okay.
Everyone have a great evening, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.